This week, we are at Goose Island State Park, which is about a half hour north of Corpus Christi, Texas. We are right on the Aransas Bay on the Gulf. On this week's episode, we're going to explore the Goose Island State Park. We're going to take a stroll over to Corpus Christi. And I'm going to tell you about two hidden gem towns right here on the Gulf Coast of Texas. And we are going to talk about some great little eating spots. The Goose Island Park is right here on the Aransas Bay. Our parking space for our fifth wheel is literally right across the street from the bay. There are some spaces that are right up against the bay. Every morning there is a beautiful sight, a beautiful breeze, and the fishing boats are just getting going. And there's probably 40 or 50 fishing boats visible every morning. Now, the fishing boats are outstanding, and we get a kick out of it because at 5 o'clock, they all disappear. You definitely punch out by 5 o'clock if you're on a fishing boat on the Aransas Bay. Plenty of birds and pelicans and cranes to check out. Very, very cool. As the non-commercial fishermen bring their boats in and out of the park, there is a fish cleaning station, and the pelicans all gather around just watching them clean the fish, waiting for the scraps, and it's quite a riot. Denise's view faces the other inlet of the bay, so it's right over the marshy area, and it is beautiful. As we go over the bridge from the Goose Island Park, there are two towns, and they kind of group them together, and they're called Rockport and Fulton. I can't tell them apart. As I'm driving through, I can't figure out where Fulton starts and Rockport ends or vice versa. I do know they have a bunch of, they have your normal restaurants, fast food, that kind of thing. You also have your grocery stores, and they have just a little fishing community and the greatest little houses. I just love the towns. The beach area there's no sand. It's just right there on the bay. Just a really, really cool place to check out. There's a constant breeze coming in. The people are all just wonderful. Totally hidden gem. I would absolutely vacation in Fulton or Rockport for a week without knowing anything about the area. It's so nice, and it's not covered up with people. It's just really, really cool place to check out. So I encourage you, if you want to see some of the Gulf of Texas without being right in the city or in the beach area, come over here to Rockport and Fulton area. It is gorgeous. We had a couple of great eating spots this trip. One of them is right down the road from the park itself, and it's called Pop's Place and features some local seafood, burgers, a little bar, that kind of thing. It's a nice little place, very reasonably priced, and the ladies that work there were just wonderful. And of course, we followed one of our travel tips and sat at the bar, so we got to have a good chat with the folks that are from the area. But more than that, the waitresses and the bartenders were quite entertaining. We also went into the town of Fulton and ate at the Poor Man's Country Club, which was just an outstanding Texas type of place. Our waitress was wearing a KISS shirt, so I thought of my buddy Kip, and I knew we were in a safe place right there. Now, we were in the Corpus Christi area, and we noticed there was a Whataburger, and another Whataburger, and another Whataburger. And at one point, you could see a Whataburger across the street from another Whataburger. And then from there down the street, you could see another one. We're like, what is going on? And of course, we discovered that Whataburger was founded in Corpus Christi. So when you get into southern Texas, there are a lot of Whataburgers. You'll have trouble finding Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King's. You will not have trouble finding a Whataburger. We drove on down to Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi has got a little bit of road construction going on from where we are because they're building a beautiful new bridge over the port or the bay port area. So it's gonna be gorgeous, but right now a little bit of construction going on. The port of Corpus Christi is the 5th largest port in the U.S., and it provides many, many jobs for the Corpus Christi area. One of the things that struck us most about Corpus Christi was how clean and beautiful the area is right along the water. And the downtown is very, very close to the water. Just a really, really clean, very, very nice city. One of the biggest tourist attractions in Corpus Christi is the aircraft carrier, the USS Lexington. The Lexington is a World War II carrier that was originally commissioned in 1943. It was decommissioned in 1947. Between 1947 and 1955, the carrier went through a bunch of modernization to be able to accept jet fighters and was recommissioned in 1955. At that time, the carrier did several different tours of duty. But what makes this carrier so unique is that in 1969, it became the training aircraft carrier in Pensacola and went back and forth between Pensacola and Corpus Christi for the U.S. Navy. So this carrier served for over 20 years as a training carrier after it did its tours of service. So a very unique history to it. It was retired in 1991 to the Corpus Christi area and is a really, really cool tourist destination and a neat thing to check out. We did not spend the night in Corpus Christi at any point, so we really just spent a day visiting and checking it out. Like I say, a very, very nice city, very clean city. Huge hospital, another big area of jobs there, and it's just a really neat place to see. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and now we're going to go on to the next step of our journey. Hilo, of course, had a great time this week. We drove about an hour and a half to the legendary King Ranch. The King Ranch is the home of American ranching and will be the highlight of this week's Nerd segment. This is the most effective keep off the grass sign that I've ever seen. Captain Richard King. The captain is because Mr. King was a steamboat captain and a steamship captain on the Gulf, and there's some interesting pieces to his story. Captain King was on a 4-day horseback journey to Corpus Christi, Texas for the Lone Star Fair. He was to join his friend Mifflin Kennedy, and that's when they discovered the area that is now the King Ranch that was eventually founded in 1853. They stopped at a little creek called the St. Gertis Creek. That comes into play later on in the King Ranch story. Captain King has kind of an interesting and a little bit of a sneaky story. Captain King was able to build his empire through transporting cotton and other goods, but was able to make some of his fortune during the war between the states, or the Civil War, because on his steamboat he flew the Mexican flag, which Mexico was neutral during the war. So it allowed him to freely move between the North and South and all the different ports without being stopped by either army from the Union or from the Confederate. In the early days of the ranch, there was a terrible drought, and Captain King went to Mexico in the area of a small town and bought all of the animals that were in that area of the town. Unfortunately, that was the livelihood for these folks that couldn't keep the animals alive anymore due to the drought. Where this story gets interesting is Captain King struck a deal with all of the people he purchased the cows and horses from, and that was that if they would help him with his ranch, he would give them a place to live and built a town for them. These people are now known as Los Queñeños, which are the king's, that means the king's people, meaning the King Ranch people in Spanish. And what's neat about it is there is a town, and still generations later, those are a large part of the cowboys and the people who have run the ranch for years and years and years. Captain King's wife, Henrietta, played a huge role in the area, and the town that the King Ranch is in is actually called Kingsville, and there is a wonderful museum there. There is a lot of history with the King Ranch, including the development of the San Gertis breed of cattle. I'll show some pictures here, not get too into detail, but it's very interesting, as well as their quarter horse area, where they have a lot of quarter horses, beautiful, beautiful animals, and some of their storied history also includes thoroughbred racing. Captain King has always kept some longhorns on the ranch as well, because that's what a lot of people think of when they think of Texas. None of the longhorns will be used for meat, and the length of their horn depends on how old the cow is. So they are purely for show here at the ranch, and so that's kind of a neat thing to see. Also, during the time that we were there, it was in the early spring, so many of the cows and horses were in the process of having babies or just had babies. So there were a bunch of calves and colts all over the place, and that was kind of a neat thing to see there. So many of us have heard the King Ranch just from the Ford trucks or seeing the logos on the seats, which is really, really cool. And the King brand is used for many things, not just cattle anymore, for sure, cattle and horses, but they also have crops in many places, but the brand itself has taken on a life of its own, and really made a huge difference to ranching and how it was done in the United States, and put a lot of the hotter, drier climates into play, and understanding of how to do that and how to make it work, as well as creating food for people all over the country, and a whole new breed of cattle, horses, and a brand overall. King Ranch, a great place to visit, a wonderful tour, very neat place, beautiful piece of American history. Goose Island was such a wonderful Texas state park. Stay tuned next week as we have some hijinks and some issues that should be pretty entertaining. Thanks for watching. See you next time.